Well, good morning, Kelowna. It is a beautiful Saturday morning again, approaching the spring giant time.
Is it ever gorgeous out there? This last week it's been great, and a little bit of rain. And don't you just love the smell of that rain?
When you wake up in the morning and walk outside and it hasn't frozen?
Yeah.
That's nice.
That's a surprise.
Terribly nice. Oh.
Well, here we are.
I guess we should start the show because you got me in the mood to just relax and think about how wonderful the weather is.
Yeah.
Anyway,
we don't want dead air time.
No, let's go. And tips and plants of the week. Well, I've got my tip of the week is watch the weather like a hawk. Speaking of weather.
Yeah, there you go.
If you're putting plants, tender plants outside overnight, there's certain plants, get to know which plants you can leave out. You know, like I've left out my onions overnight because even if it freezes a bit, that's okay. I've left out the geraniums now overnight. Because if a little touch of frost isn't going to hurt the geraniums. There's certain plants that you can do that with, but you can't do that with tropicals and things like that. So watch the weather like a hawk if you're putting plants outside, and if you're even questioning it, put them back inside because nothing worse than babysitting a plant all winter long and then have everything freeze in the spring.
Would die,
My plants of the week, and I have two plants because at this time of year there's such a plethora of plants that you can get two at least. Yeah. Mine is the geranium that I gifted you there.
Yeah, fabulous.
It's the apple blossom geranium, one of my favorite geraniums. And I don't plant a lot of geraniums, but I'll sure plant this one. This one here is a double pink bicolor, real double, like a little rose each flower is. So that's the apple blossom geranium. And, of course, I've got a late bloomer, my Hippeastrum, my Amaryllis red lion. Didn't bloom for Christmas, and it sat there and said, all of a sudden it said, I think I'll bloom. So now it's got two big buds on it. One of them is wide open bloom. I sent you one.
Yeah, send me a picture, yeah.
It's like having a baby,
I gotta love those amaryllis. All right, well, I also have a tip and a plant this week, and my tip of the week is that don't be in a rush to see your plants leaf out in the spring. Just let them be for a while. Plants like the Rose of Sharon, which is a common shrub that we see, it's quite a beautiful plant. And the Rose of Sharon is one of these plants that's not in a big rush to leaf out in the springtime. What it does is often sits and sits and sits until you get into May quite a bit, and then all of a sudden you'll see a little push of leaves. But don't be in a rush to go and rush it back to the garden center because, if it was newly purchased. All you do is just give it a little scratch with your thumbnail under the bark, see if it's nice and green there. And if it's green, then you know it's good to go, and no problems. Just got to wait for it. It's a late bloomer, so it's not in a rush to get going early. And my plant of the week this week is the Primula auricula, which is one of my favorite plants of all time, and I actually collect Primula auriculas. And they're just a cool plant. It's a family that's been collected since probably back in the 1500s. And it's one that all across Europe was quite popular. And they used to have little theaters that each gardener would set up, and they would put all their prize primulas into this theater. And the Auricula Theater, it was called. And there you go. That's my tips and plants for this week. Remember to check growercoach.com.
Well, spring is here, and we have, as we go into spring, we always have special guests on.
We do.
And today we have a special guest. Would you like to introduce Sally?
Yes, absolutely. This is Allison Linnea, right? Lenny. There you go. See?
Allison Lenny.
I think I was thinking of Linnea Nursery for some reason in my head.
Allison's been working with volunteers, Ken, the past couple of weeks, propagating in the demonstration garden and then putting them in pots in greenhouses that they've rented.
Oh, yeah.
You've rented a greenhouse.
That's correct.
Wow, that's awesome. Well, welcome.
So they're rooting and growing, getting ready for the annual sale of perennials. And that's really one of the reasons you're here is you're going to promote your annual perennial sale.
You bet.
And that happens?
That is Saturday, the 4th of May from 9 to 12 at our garden, the demonstration garden.
Just a month away.
Well, that's great. Well, we'll talk more about that throughout the show here today, and we'll see. And the location, is it still at the? It's
right in the garden? Yep, you bet.
At the H2O
Center? At H2O, yep.
Oh, there you go.
Gordon Drive.
The H2O garden.
Yeah. And for the first time this year, I actually went into the H2O building. I've never been there, but I took my daughter swimming there, or my granddaughter, not my daughter, 35-year-old daughter taking swimming. No, my granddaughter, Ellie, we went in there. What a facility. Holy mackerel. And I got a chance to have a look at the gardens, and they're looking fine this year. They're coming through quite nice. Yeah. Allison, this is a radio show. As you know, you're on the radio. And people phone in. And so Ken and I will be chatting away like this, and all of a sudden we get a wonderful caller phoning in, and that's what it's all about. If we don't have the calls, there ain't no show. And we have our first callers.
Holy doodle.
We got our first caller, Marilyn. Good morning, Marilyn.
Good morning. I wanted some advice, Don, on some small shrubs. I would like to have a forsythia, but I don't want a big, sloppy, messy one, and I don't want to have to do a lot of pruning to it.
Right.
Is there such a...
Ken, there's newer forsythia
yes.
forsythia out.
Yeah, there's quite a few good ones, actually. The proven winter varieties, if you look at those, they usually have a big PW on the pot.
Right, I'm familiar with them, yeah.
Yeah, and just check the sizes on those, because there's some new ones that only get about 3 feet high, and they just bloom and
Beautiful.
bloom and bloom, and the blooms are big and colorful. And
Right, okay. And what about a Korean spice? Is it a fairly easy viburnum to grow?
yeah, well, Viburnum carlesii, that's the variety, and it's a really great one. It's one of my all-time favorite plants. They are a little hard to find sometimes, so you got to search around, see if you can get one. They're generally not purchased as a small plant. They're usually purchased as a larger sort of a ball and burlap plant, but you never know what you're going to find, so you have to check around. But really good one. Good
They're a
plant.
little bit prone to aphid, aren't they?
All viburnums, you betcha. They
little
love
prone to
the aphids. Love them.
But if you do, Ken, I always just tell people, if you got aphid issues in your garden, do what Ken does. Plants alyssum, white alyssum, the annual alyssum. Maybe it doesn't even have to be white, does it? Could be any.
Yeah, white seems to be
White
the best,
seems to be
but
the best.
Whatever.
It attracts this tiny little parasitic wasp that eats aphids.
Okay, sounds good. Yeah. Could you suggest any other small shrubs? I have a fairly large area, but I just want to have several shrubs in it, flowering shrubs.
Yeah, well, there are lots of good short and small varieties.
Like when I say short, I mean, maybe 4 to 5 feet or...
Yeah. Well, that's still classified as a dwarf plant because most, even the ones like... you always have to think of the tag on the plant as just being a suggestion. Like it'll say it grows 5 to 6 feet tall, and then you buy it and it grows 10 feet tall, and it's like, well, because they didn't tell you what timeline. Yeah, they didn't tell you it was going to be in 1 year or in 5 years or in 10 years or whatever. So what I do is I just through experience I kind of know which ones that I choose, and I tend to go with like extra small ones. Like if it says 3 to 4 feet on the tag, it's probably going to be more like 4 to 6 feet.
Okay. Well, that's good to know.
And remember, what I do too is I would rather buy those smaller plants and just never touch them. It's in zero maintenance, right? Just let them grow, and they'll take a little while to grow, but really nice. So look for the Weigela family, Weigelias.
What is that?
Some people call them Weigelias.
Oh yes,
but they're Weigelas, the pronunciation normally, and the barberry family, which are really colorful.
Oh yeah,
foliage.
I like the barberry. Yeah,
there's a really good one. Concord is a nice one, and it's a purple color. And the little gold nugget's one of my favorites. Just a tiny little plant. And the Weigela, a nice one, is that one called My Monet. And My Monet has sort of some nice rich pink flowers on it, but it also has variegated foliage. So the foliage is quite beautiful, even when it's not blooming.
When it's not blooming. And what size? Like they don't grow? Are they, or do they come in different sizes? Weigelias.
A lot of them are really tiny. Like that, My Monet is only typically around that 24 inches tall by about 36 inches wide.
Okay.
And it can get a little taller than that over time.
Wine and Roses is a good one.
Yeah, Wine and Roses is about a 4 foot siise. Yeah, that's more
and
maybe.
Minuet is another one.
Minuet's even a little bigger. Yeah, but the new Weigelas, the one called Midnight Wine. And there's another one.
Quite dark.
It's really deep purple color, but it blooms a nice bright pink, but it stays small. It only gets typically about 2 feet, maybe 3 feet high. So I really like these new dwarfs because they're small, and I always like the idea of throwing in some foliage color too, so that even when they're not blooming, they're kind of attractive.
Right. Yeah, and I guess space between them, I could put perennial plants too.
Oh, sure, like lavenders. Yeah, you bet. There's lots of good ones. The nepitas are nice. The Dropmore Blue nepeta is a pretty plant. Blooms and blooms. Needs a little bit of maintenance. Perennials take a little bit. And watch for the new echinaceas. Man, they're unbelievable. These
what
hybrids.
What color are they?
Pretty much every color you can imagine.
Oh, really?
Yeah, they come in all kinds of colors. Not so much blues, but they go anywhere from purple through apricots and yellows and pinks and white. That whole scale.
Yeah. Okay. Well, that sounds interesting.
Yeah, and different sizes, and they're more ever blooming now. The old-fashioned echinaceas would just bloom once, and that was it. They were done. So they're sort of that mid-June to mid-July, or even end of July. But these new ones, they start earlier and they go right till frost.
Oh, well, and what? How would I know if they were the new ones? What name do they?
There's really nice ones. Like if you like some hot peppery colors, like salsa sombrero is a beauty.
But how do I know? Like if it's an echinacea, if it's one of the newer ones, is there some?
It would usually say a new hybrid or something on the tag, and note the color. So that, that when you see an apricot or an orange-colored one...
You know that it's a new one.
You know it's new, because the old-fashioned ones were either white or pink.
That's right, yeah.
So when you see these oddball colors, it's like, wow, and they perform unbelievable. And there's doubles and singles, too.
Oh, well, that's good to know, because they are a good plant, but I'm kind of tired of the pink ones.
Yeah, I agree. I think these new ones are winners because they just bloom and bloom. This one orange-colored one is really beautiful, and I can't remember the name of it, but it's a double orange. And it just glows at night. It's just a beautiful
wow.
thing.
Yeah, no, that sounds great. I like that idea.
Yeah.
Okay, well, thanks, guys. That's been a big help. And
Marilyn?
Anxious to get out there.
Thank you for giving us a call. We appreciate it.
Okay, thanks so
Take
much.
care.
Okay,
Take care.
Bye now.
Bye-bye now. And we're going to have to take that first break. We're going to get back to talking to Allie about her ventures here. She's this is in her third career, I'm understanding here, which is kind of cool. And Gurinder, we're going to take a short break. We'll be back with more AM 1150 Garden Show. Okay, getting back to business here. We've got a fine guest with us today, and she is a hard-working gal. This is her third career. She's been a nurse. She worked up at Big White previously as a food and beverage business at Big White, and now she has her own company, Gardens by Allie, and that's cool. What do you do in your business, Allie?
In business, my main one is the subcontractor with the Xeriscape Association. In the spring, it's very, very, very big part of the business. Mm-hmm. And then I have another gardener who works with me, and we do small gardens, big gardens, but just no hardscapes. Do some Xeriscape advice, maintain gardens. Lots of weeding.
So nice to meet a landscaper that's into plants.
Yes.
Yeah. Something for a change.
That. And I love our young landscapers out there. They're all
awesome.
great. They all work hard and they're doing their thing, but they don't have a passion for plants. It's just the way it is. It's the nature of the business. Mm-hmm. They just they're into hardscapes and walls and patios and things like that. But plants, right, we have to use plants. As a matter of fact, just for fun, because we chat. This is a chat show. I've got this development application for approval for landscaping, for a development, and they're all the same. They're all, I'm not picking on this particular one, but they talk about, they want to know the trees and shrubs and plants. That's fine. They want to know what's on there. They want to know the hardscaping, in other words, the driveway location and all the different retaining walls and things like that. It's very important. I got to know that. And they want to know the landscape materials. They're talking about mulch and rock and other landscape materials. And the overall landscape plan requirements, the location of all plant material and, location and description of fencing and things like that. But they forgot about soil. They haven't mentioned soil on this. And it's what's below the ground that makes plants. And that's one of the principles of Xeriscape, isn't it?
Correct. Yep. Planning and amending soil.
Right. Because if you don't have soil, you don't have plants. You just can't have a good plant.
Yeah.
And if you're xeriscaping, planting in a xeriscape mode, then
You want to have some water
it's
retention.
even more important to have good soil. So important to have good soil. They say on here they prefer using native plant material and things. They always say that because it's a feel-good thing, right? But they don't talk about let's get some good soil in there. So I think that's
the
very,
right
very important.
soil is even more important than not just pure compost, but the right type of soil. But tell us a little bit about the Okanagan Xeriscape Association and how that's all happening. And I know the plant sale is coming up.
Sure.
And the website.
Sure. The easiest way to our website is to Google OXA, O-X-A, and it is often the first one that comes up, but it's okanaganxeriscape.org is the website, and there's lots of information on there. And we have this amazing plant database that one of our co-founders, Gwen Steele, created, and it has tons of filters. So you can look at your water usage, your exposure, the color of bloom you'd like, when you'd like it to bloom, and how tall you'd like it. And you put that into the database, and that will spit out lots of options for you. And we're starting to flag fire smart things and plants that are a little more enthusiastic than others, so that people are prepared for that.
Yeah.
And going back quickly to your soil concept, when the garden was built 9 years ago, the first thing that they did was take about 18 inches of soil out, and then they brought in proper soil first. And every year we add about somewhere between 8 and 10 yards of Glen grow, and it's the easiest place to weed probably in the city because the soil is beautiful and plants are happy.
Yeah.
Well, that makes it very easy to weed when you've got nice tilth to the soil where you can just pull a weed out rather than have to get a jackhammer.
You can actually garden there.
Yeah.
It's called gardening.
You can garden
It's called
there.
gardening. That's what I say to some of these young landscapers. I say, hey, it's called gardening, boys. We're actually gardening here. So I say to the client often, I'll say, okay, so we're landscaping your place. I'm designing the beds and whatnot. Is there a time when you wouldn't mind going down to Bylands or Art Naps or the Dogwood or Rick's or whatever, or the greenery, and buying a nice plant or some bulbs or something? Oh, yes, I want to do that. Well, unfortunately, you're not going to be able to do it with fabric and boulders and rock on top and junk underneath. Have you ever heard of the term pocket planting?
Yeah.
Doesn't that bug you? Pocket planting.
And it's cheaper, that's for sure. It's less expensive.
Yeah.
But that's about it. It's I don't know if it truly is if you look at a 10-year period.
No.
If you actually put in real soil, it actually lasts.
Well, to me, it's like they're bonsaiing the plants. It's what they're doing. They're creating the plants for the wonder. Oh, by the way, I've taken out a dogwood, Cornus Siboldiana. Cornus, or no, magnolia. It's a magnolia. It's a magnolia Siboldiana.
Oh,
right?
yeah. Okay.
I've taken that guy out. Okay. Because every spring this thing, it blooms. It comes out and blooms. And I think, it's going to be gorgeous. And then the blooms start getting brown edges, and basically it's because they hate our alkaline soil. You got to get Davidii instead of Siboldiana, and I can't find a Davidii. So that's it. We're done. It's out. It's in a pot. It's going to Gushikan to the garden club plant sale. It'll be there. And I'll explain.
Somebody needs to have
sulfur.
Some acidify.
Needs sulfur.
Well, creating an acidic environment for that particular plant.
So it's coming out. I'm putting in a Caryopteris, the beautyberry. Is that Caryopteris? No. No. What's the beautyberry? Anyway, it's a beautyberry, a purple beautyberry.
Yeah, you confused me there when you were swirling around with different names coming at me different directions.
But whatever, I'm putting that
Calicarpa.
Calicarpa, thank you.
Bodnatense.
Yeah, and I purchased one, and it's a poor little soul. I tend to do that. You look at a plant in the nursery and
you feel sorry for it?
You feel sorry, So the gal, she was so nice at Byland. She says, Don, I don't think this is very healthy. this plant, it did look pretty ragged,
Yeah.
But all you got to do, scrape a little piece with your fingernail, see if it's nice and green, and not just green, but wet green inside.
Yep.
And then pop the plant out. Now, I know the nursery people get freaked out when you start popping plants out of their pots, but you want to look at the roots.
Well, you're a nursery man. That's what nurserymen do,
so you
right?
you pop the plant
First
out,
thing you do.
and you look at the roots, and you know what, Ken? Beautiful white roots happening.
Yeah.
It could have been bad. It could have been a winter kill thing because it was in a pot all winter, and we had a tough February.
Yeah.
Could have been toast. But no, when you see white roots and you see green under the stems and it's wet green, no problem. Go for it. So I've taken this poor little orphan home, and we're going to plant it where the magnolia was.
Well, there you go. Yeah, they're quite a pretty plant. The calicarpas, they're mostly a foliage plant through the season. I believe they have small flowers in the early summer, but nothing really showy. But in the fall, wow, bright violet purple berries that are just unbelievable. And I'm just trying to think if we've posted any on our website recently, any pictures, but I think we did post some on our Instagram account, pictures of calicarpa, the brilliant violet-looking flowers or berries in the fall. It's just one of those plants that just keeps on going. If you have a garden and you got your spring stuff, you got your early summer stuff, you got your midsummer stuff, and then you need your fall stuff. And that one will keep going almost right through the winter, like with those berries. It's quite spectacular. I love it.
And our mutual friend and radio garden show listener, Pam, has a beauty.
She has a beauty.
Beauty berry.
Yeah.
We're going to take a short break here. We invite your calls, 250-862-2525, to get to Allie, Ken, and Dawn today on the AM 1150 Garden Show. And we'll be back with more AM 1150 Garden Show. We're back with you again on the AM 1150 Garden Show. And what a good time we're having today. We got Allie with us, and she's talking about OXA, the Okanagan Xeriscape Association, which is, just been around now for how many years?
10.
10? This is the 10th anniversary.
10th anniversary.
Oh, lovely. 10.
Cool.
It's always nice to be 10.
Yeah.
The garden show's 37. just saying. But no, 10 years is a good milestone, and it's only getting more relevant and with and stronger, with more membership and whatnot. Now, you are a master gardener.
Correct.
It's cool to be called a master gardener. I mean, I have. Ken hasn't been through the program. I haven't been through the program. And so, people say, wow, you're a master gardener, out of just attrition kind of thing or whatever. Okay, but I don't, I have certain belts in Taekwondo, which I'm very proud of.
You don't have a black belt in horticulture?
But I don't have a black belt in
horticulture.
Gardening.
I
haven't earned it. Mind you, I do have a certification in arboriculture, which is, and I have a 3-risk certification.
Yeah.
But I don't have, I'm pining for a master gardener. I would love to be called a master gardener. And it's not an easy thing to do, is it?
It's not. It's a fairly time-consuming course. It's about 4 months, and lots of assignments, like being back in school again, and an exam at the end. Yeah. And then you've got two years after that, or including that year of volunteering and learning about sort of the message out to the public, which is mostly right plant, right places, considering your water, all sorts of things.
Now, as Master Gardeners is doing another program this year, is that right?
Yeah, it's the 7th of September to the 7th of December, I think. Right. And if someone was interested, if they emailed Okanagan Master Gardeners course at Gmail, they would get an answer about. They have little information sessions, so you can find out what you're going to get into. And they have one. I think they have one in April and one in May. And they would do one on demand if people were wanting to know more about it.
Yes. And I think it's very, very important that we get the word out, because if people really want to take their gardening to another level, that's the way to do it. That's the way to do it.
Yeah. Certainly does give you a broad spectrum of experience for sure.
Now, we're going to go back to the phone lines, and Pam is on the line. Good morning, Pam.
Good morning. Good morning.
Were your ears hurting?
Were my ears hurting?
Yeah, we mentioned you.
Oh, yes, I did hear you mention. No. You weren't yelling. So
No, I wasn't yelling. No.
My ears hurt when I get yelled at, but otherwise I'm okay with it.
Yeah.
I wanted to say that I still appreciate your guest being on, and I wanted to just endorse the plant sale coming up. I'm not personally part of it, but I have benefited greatly. Many of the plants that are in my yard I acquired when we first moved here a few years ago, and I'm a member at H2O, so I was walking by and I realized, oh, there's a garden here. Yes. Oh, there's a plant sale. Perfect. And I just want to say that I don't know, as I can say that every plant they release, just like every nursery might have a plant that doesn't thrive, but the ones that I have acquired from the plant sale, the demonstration gardens, have been super healthy, strong, and are performing so well. And we're 4 years later, so
right on. Thanks.
That's great.
They're a good source.
Yeah.
So thank you for what you do.
How's your Calicarpa doing?
You know, she's beginning to fade now because leaves are soon coming out, so that the purple isn't as brilliant.
Right.
But great.
So they actually the berries stayed through the month of February?
Oh, yeah. They're still there now. They're just not as brilliant purple.
Right.
They're more, they've dialed down several tones.
Yeah.
But the berries are still there. And I don't think they're really good for anything. I don't think anything eats them, per se, at this point. I would say, the berries actually, they've, as I look now, as the weather has warmed, and I guess as they've aged, the berries are kind of tattered now. So they're just getting ready to be replaced by the leaves that come out.
Right.
And we'll carry on. Yeah, no, it's doing great. I haven't noticed any difficulties with it through the last few years of whether it's bugs or disease, or it's not temperamental. It's a pretty easy plant to live with.
Well, I'm hoping, because all the ones I've seen are a little bit, their form is not the best. That goes here and there. And personally, when I get mine going, I'm going to try and prune this thing properly or somewhat so that it's got a nice form to it, because as you say, through the early months and through the summer, there's not much going on. It's the berry that's so beautiful, but it would be nice if there was a nice form, because I've got it. I'm going to plant it right out in my front yard, and I want it to look nice too. So I'm going to play around with the pruning aspect of it.
Well, I know that you are a master pruner to begin with, so I don't know that I can give you any tips per se overall. But I know that when I first got the shrub, and I thought, how do I prune this? What do I prune? I found some information that I think is reliable, that the growth pattern of it is if you do not prune it mid-branch unless you want all kinds of lateral growth, higgly-piggly everywhere. You prune it right at the ground, and then it shoots up new sticks upright. Yep. And so if you want lateral growth, that's where you put your mid-stalk or your, proportional.
So it's a renewal thing, really, isn't it?
Yeah.
Renewal from the base, Interesting.
Yeah, so I don't have a lot of additional growth, but like you don't want to top it unless you want to end up with a ceiling. You know, like end up with a flat roof kind of thing.
Right.
So I guess you just have to respect the plant and what it does when you prune it, like always.
What's the biggest one you've seen out there, Calicarpa?
The biggest one I've seen is probably about an 8-footer,
so
8 to 9
they
foot.
Can get big. So I don't want mine to get that big, so I'm going to have to play with it.
Yeah, selective removal of branches.
Yeah, Pam, living salads?
Living salads are coming up, man. May 9th, we will be delivering our 325 living salad planters to our clients. We're making phone calls now. We have all of our suppliers lined up. We are so thrilled with the support that the community growers are offering us. It's really, really, really great.
Yeah, it touches our heart, doesn't it? I mean, when they support something like this.
Yeah, it's really fabulous, really fabulous. And one thing I just want to say before I go, my mason bees are emerging. I'm so excited, so excited. I've been taking sequential photos of my mason bee mudded little tubes in my house, and I noticed, yes, they're coming out. And then this past week, I stopped by on a sunny day looking at my house, and I saw a couple of beautiful green metallic bees that I don't know that I could claim that they emerged from my house, but I know that they're fresh and new because that's the only way they show up this time of year. So,
Pam, I'd love to if you could share those pictures with me.
Sure, I can.
Yeah.
I'll send them off to you.
Thank you, dear.
Great.
Alrighty.
Okay.
Thanks, Steve.
We
Yep.
we always appreciate your call. Take care.
Thanks.
Yep.
Have a great day.
Yep.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
And okay, one quick thank you out there. A few months ago, I was mentioning I was looking for clay pots, and our good friend Ariel phoned me up the other day and said, "Don, I've got some clay pots for you."
Yeah.
And I went over, and what a great boy! She sure has a lovely little planting area inside the house and outside, all three. And she takes care of the tropicals in her apartment block, and yeah, really was a
Fabulous.
pleasure having a visit there. If you're listening, Ariel, thanks again. Thank you very much for those clay pots.
Real green thumb.
You bet.
Mm-hmm.
And when we get back, we're going to talk more to Ali here about all the different things going on, in particular the plant sale coming up on May the 4th at the H2O, un-H2O Gardens. We'll be back with more AM 1150 Garden Show. Ken and Allie and Dawn on the air for you this morning. What's coming up? What are events in Oxa and other exciting things that's coming up, Allie?
Sure. Well, I have to talk about us first.
Yes.
So our plant sale is Saturday, May 4th at the NH2O Garden on Gordon Drive from 9 to 12. We have, as of my last count last night, we have 2,649 plants for sale.
Ooh, nice.
Well, and that'll probably grow a little bit for us. They're all laid out by the garden that they belong to. So we have rock garden plants and Mediterranean plants, etc. We have lots of volunteers. I think that's one of the best things about our sale is we have so many volunteers to be able to help people in their shopping. And we have a bunch of different organizations who will be there out on the grass area by the garden. We have the Okanagan Basin Water Board, Okanagan Collaborative Conservation Program, Seeds Co. Glengrow will be there, and she'll have dropped off a load of Glengrow the night before probably, and we'll be able to shovel that for people, and they'll be able to get bags of it. I think they did that at the CD Sunday at Parkinson Rec as well. Zen Xeriscape Endemic Nursery will be there, and Joan Byrne will be there, and they'll both be bringing plants that we don't have that are Xeriscape plants, and those will be for sale as well. And also the Master Gardeners will be there, and they'll also be able to answer questions. I think I've got everybody who's going to attend. And in terms of the community coming up, we've got Neighborwoods on April 21st. You can go onto the City of Kelowna website and order your trees. The Kelowna Garden Club at sale at Gushigan is April 28th. And the Summerland Friends of the Garden plant sale is the same weekend as us, but they do 2 days. So you can go to both. They're Saturday and Sunday, May 4th and 5th, and we're just the Saturday morning.
Right, and you can't miss, it's right at the Summerland Ornamental Gardens, right?
Right, yep.
So you can't miss the big sign up on the right. When
That's
you're
right.
going in Summerland, you can see the sign, just follow it up towards the research station, and away you go. Beautiful place.
Cool.
If you haven't been, you should go.
Yes.
Yeah. And if you haven't been to the H2O or the un-H2O Gardens, right beside the H2O building, you should go there too, especially when things start to grow in the spring. I mean, even now there's quite some attractive things going on, but in the spring and summer, that really gives you an idea of what Xeriscape is about. It's not about a bunch of rock piles and plants kind of poking through and whatever. It's
not a
gardening.
style.
It's gardening. It's still
It's-
gardening.
yeah,
it's
it's
just
often-
gardening with less water.
Yeah, exactly.
Simple as
It's
that.
not a style, and that's what I think a lot of people get confused about, is that they think it's a style. But it's not a style. It's just a collection of. It's a system, is what it is. A system of gardening to conserve water.
And it's not what what it isn't is a panacea to correct everything you've ever hated about gardening. And this is what people that I want to go Xeriscape because I just don't want to do anything. Well, that's
Like,
not what Xeriscape.
Yeah.
It's still gardening.
Yeah.
It's still gardening, and it's a great one of the aspects of Xeriscape, of course, is the challenge. There is some challenges to it, and we all like a challenge. I'm having challenges in my greenhouse. Every day I have challenges. I got a little bit of aphid show up, so I got some really nice material that says, it's just the combination of the pyrethrums and it's mainly just pyrethrums. Okay, it's by Schultz, and it's a little squeeze bottle, and it says all plants and lists all the plants you can plant. I sprayed, some amaranth that had a little aphid. I sprayed some some peppers and things like that had aphids on them in the greenhouse. Burnt the heck out of the plants. So this is a challenge, So anyway, washing them off and doing my thing with the aphids. I'm thinking maybe we should encourage some of those wasps in there. Maybe grow some alyssum and encourage some.
Oh, for sure. And that's the difference, isn't it? When you're growing plants indoors, there's no beneficials, so the pests get out of control really fast. But when you get them outside, then all the beneficial organisms that are out there that love to eat these insects, they're just hungry. They're looking for food, and they fly up to your plant, and there it is with a bunch of delicious aphids on it, and they fly in and eat them all in one sitting often, which is quite amazing. One wasp.
That's why I'm trying to get some plants outside during the day, even at this time of year. Get them outside.
Leave the doors wide open. Let those bugs in, especially the spider mites.
That's right. So what are some of the... We've got a very short time before we take the break, but we're on for another hour after the break. But, Allie, what are some of the challenges you find when you're when you're trying to grow plants with less water? What are some of the challenges?
I think too, you have to give them... not set a level for their water demands when you first put them in. So you have to baby them like you would any other plant that first year, and make sure that you're helping to create a really good, solid, strong plant. And think about where you're putting it and what you're putting it with, so that the water needs are collective. Especially if you've got irrigation, you want the water needs in that zone to be all the same. Right. And some of the plants that we have. For instance, there's plants there that we can't propagate because we literally can't dig them out because they have huge tap roots, and we'd never get them out. Right. Because that's how they deal with being a really good xeriscape plant. I think just paying attention to any information that you have on the plant and treating it well. If it needs to go to seed, let it go to seed. If it needs its blooms cut off. I know that earlier you were talking about the Nepeta, which I love. And our Nepeta are beautiful, and they are full of beneficials all season long. And when I shear them down, you just need to shear them once after they bloom, and then they'll bloom again. I do every other on our run of Nepeta, so that I'm leaving the other ones for the beneficials until I come back a couple of weeks later, and the next one is started back up again. So it looks a little weird for a month or so. But
that's a fun thing to try in gardening, is when you have a bunch of a similar plant, is to cut back every second one, let them come on, and then just as they're about to bud or budding, getting ready to go again, then you cut down the other ones, and you get this alternating, or you could even do it in thirds if you have enough plants. So every third plant, and then come back and wait halfway through and cut every second plant, and then wait another 2 weeks and then cut the last one. Really fun, and it stimulates that ongoing bloom right in through the season.
Right.
Now, a lot of the developments that I work with and whatnot, their recommendations, they say, we recommend using mostly native plants, okay? I'm just wondering if they know really what they're talking about when they say native plants, because name some native plants that you find as good landscape plants, some of the native plants. I mean, yes, we can talk about Mahonia, and we can talk about sumac, and we can talk about other plants like that. But I'm just thinking some of the perennial type native plants, the herbaceous plants.
Well, there's certainly some grasses that, and you're not getting a bloom there. Nodding onion is one that's native that has a beautiful bloom on it. It's bit stinky, smells like onion, but it's a beautiful, delicate bloom for probably about 3 weeks to a month. Yarrows,
yarrows.
And there's certainly been developed yarrows, but the native yarrows, we've got an area of the garden that we've just started last year, and we've done a lawn alternative bed with native yarrow, so it's the white yarrow, and that's a great one. Philadelphus, mock orange, Saskatoons, beautiful. They're all in the garden.
Penstemons are good.
Oh, the
Penstemons,
penstemons.
yeah.
One of our amazing volunteers this year did cuttings for one of our really popular, the pinifolius. And so, because we can't propagate it the way that we do by splitting.
Right.
And so we have 15 only available for this show. Wow. For the sale, but we have that, and we also have penstemon red rocks that we have in lots, and that's a great one, and they bloom all season. They grow, but they don't travel really anywhere, and the red rocks is a really lush looking leaf. They're gorgeous.
I like the fruticosa, the penstemon fruticosa, because it's evergreen, but it's you see it all along Wood Lake as you drive to Vernon. It's all over those hillsides along the highway. And I always look for it to bloom each year, and it must be in bloom now, or it's very, very early anyway. I saw it coming over from Merritt as well, and I saw it along the roadsides just last week. It was not blooming yet there. It's much higher altitude, but what a cool plant.
Well, this is great conversation here, and I'm enjoying it very much and learning something, as Ken and I always do when we have guests on, and we're rolling along here in the Garden Show. We're going to have to take a short break at the midpoint here. We'll be back for a whole streaming hour of Garden Show. Soon to be a podcast, of course. Just kidding.
Of course.
Not kidding. It's going to be. Garinder's looking after that whole thing. Anyway, 250-862-2525 to get through to us today, and we'll be back with more AM 1150 Garden Show. 250-862-2525 to get through to us today. We've got Allie, we've got Ken, and we've got Dawn to answer your gardening questions. And we're having a great visit here with Allie as far as the OXA, the Okanagan Landscape Association, and the upcoming sale on May the 4th, and other events that are happening as well. But we do encourage you to give us a call. There's stuff going on in the garden I'm sure you're concerned about, and now is the time to get your questions answered. I must say, I'm enjoying my garden this year, as we always do, watching things emerge and come up. First year I've ever had hyacinths. I planted some hyacinths last year, and they're coming up nicely, although I planted 4, and there's only 3. Now, what's with that? I don't know. And then
that's gardening.
I planted a new allium I'm excited about, and it's coming up like crazy. The Aramuris, the foxtail lily that I planted last spring,
it's coming up.
Coming up now.
Nice.
It's emerging. Darn near stepped on it, and then I remembered your tip of the week: don't step on your perennials.
Tippy-toe through the gardens.
Tiptoe through the tulips, and the early tulips are now blooming.
Nice.
And the but I planted some anemones. Anemones did not show. They've I think they've croaked, and I also planted some snowdrops, galanthus, and they are not showing. So I got a feeling something happened to them. And I can't even remember where I planted them. I remember planting them. But I'm looking around somewhere. These things should be coming up, because
that's also gardening.
I put a whole package of snowdrops in, and a whole package of another white blooming thing in the spring. And
then you walk around the corner and you see behind a shrub here's the package of bulbs sitting on the surface.
Yeah, or in the trunk of the car.
Yes, in the trunk. That happens.
Yeah. But anyway, so that's gardening, as Ken said. But I'm going to try again. I want to get some anemones. Now, those little anemones that you plant,
anemone blanda?
Yeah.
The little ones that bloom early?
Yeah. Do they come through the winter?
Oh, yeah. Yeah, they should. They actually naturalize, yeah. It's a great little plant. I love anemone blanda. It comes in either whites, singles and doubles, and then a blue with a white center. Really pretty little plant. Yeah. But it's I don't know if I've seen it. Did you actually purchased?
I purchased the
little bulbs, or corms, or they're
whatever
like
they are,
little
hard rock things.
Little hard rock thingies.
Yeah.
It's probably a tuber.
Yeah, it would be a tuber, I think. Yeah.
So as long as they're available, that's the thing. And getting them, I always suggest with some of those things that are maybe, getting them in maybe a little bit earlier, just so they get a chance to root in, get ready for the winter. And then depending where you're putting them, I think that's part of the thing with a lot of these bulbs, is that whether you get a lot of precipitation where it becomes soggy and wet, or if the drainage is not good. That's the number one thing that I find that's hard on bulbs is lack of drainage.
Yeah. And I just thought with this mild November, December, January we had, that
It should have been good.
rooting
Yeah.
in and happy and long, and then all of a sudden, nothing there. Anyway, we're going to go to the phone lines because that's what we do on the Garden Show, and we invite your calls. So we've got Addie. Good morning, Addie.
Good morning, guys. How are you?
Excellent.
Good,
Thank you.
thanks.
My orchid plant that is blooming in the house right now has shot out another shoot.
Oh, nice.
Now, the only thing is that, which way do the one that's already blooming has been bent into a certain way over a wire.
Yep.
In what direction do you bend them?
Well, you want to straighten them upright. Like typically you'd have another wire, or you can sometimes steal the wire from the other one, or you can even attach the same stem to the same wire and have them both growing on one wire if you want to. But basically,
they're too far apart. But
yeah, they're too
I've
far
got
apart.
another wire there, but it's a straight wire. The first wire that I got it with is a bent wire. So what happens when this one grows up? Right now it's about 6 inches tall, and I've got it sort of leaning against the straight wire.
Yeah, well, that's what you need to do is you need to keep training it up that wire. Now, the wires that they put in there are usually flexible, quite soft and bendy. And that's,
Right.
I get so many of those orchids over the years that I've ended up with a collection of the wires. So I keep reusing them every time one starts to bloom. All it does is it sets it up for a display. So you want to train it upright to about maybe 12 or 16 inches tall, and then just allow it to do its own thing. And usually it'll curve down and sort of lean away from the plant a little bit, and that sets up a beautiful display for the flowers. So getting them up a little bit. In nature, when they're growing on a tree, they hang down. So they're pendulous and they hang off the tree. And so that's one of these things. If you ever see them in sort of a more of a natural environment where they're not like in a pot, they do definitely, they reach outwards away from a tree and they kind of hang on a downward angle, and then they have lots of lateral branching.
So the wire is just a support for aesthetics. You can make that blossom stem go anywhere you want with the wire. So it's nothing to do with the health of the plant or anything.
Yeah, they're just
Okay,
very
so all
brittle.
All I have to do is put leave it sort of leaning against the wire that is leaning up against, and when it gets to be about 12, 15 inches tall, it will automatically go its own way.
Yep.
It'll bend over, yep.
It'll bend over.
Yep.
Okay, super, great. That's super. Thanks a lot. My other question is, I sort of jumped the gun and bought some bacopa and lobelia, but I'm not ready to plant some of the other plants that I'm going to put in the basket. So can they be outside now, the bacopa and the lobelia?
Well, this is a question that's asked to me every year. When can I leave my plants out overnight? It's night by night, Addie. You just got to keep. That's my tip of the week this week was watch the weather like a hawk. I've been bringing stuff out of the greenhouse every day and putting it outside so it can breathe and maybe get some natural insect control going on and that sort of thing. But if that weather forecast, or if it's a clear night and the weather forecast says it's going to go down to 2, I don't take a chance, because when they say 2,
could
you're
be
going to have
minus
frost
4.
pockets. You could be in trouble.
I had
So,
frost this morning at my house.
If the weather forecast says 5 overnight, you're getting to be pretty well safe. But who knows? Because when they say it's 5, that doesn't mean on the west side where you live. It's talking about airport, and you could have minus, or you could have +5 at the airport and -5 somewhere else. So you have to be watching that. Weather is so important. If in doubt, put your plants back in at night.
Okay, so even if they're on a deck, like these are on a deck, the bacopa, and I take my romancia out there every day to leave it out there, and I've got a whole bunch of other plants started. But you're talking about if it goes down to +2, take them in.
Well, if the weather forecast says +2, if it only goes to +2, most of those plants are going to be okay overnight. But if the weather forecast says +2, chances are it might be -4. You can't rely on that. So you want to make sure that the weather forecast is saying +5 at night before you even think of leaving them out overnight. I've left my geraniums out overnight. and it actually had a little touch of frost. You can tell in the morning. There's a little frost on the patio table, and the geraniums are fine. They will take a little bite. But
not
lots
anything
of things,
else.
But lots of other
Almost
things.
nothing else.
Other things, like your grasses. I've got some feather reed grass, variegated feather reed grass.
Yeah.
The variegated feather reed grass can't take any frost. It doesn't matter how hardened it is; it'll die if it gets.
That's because it's soft from the greenhouse.
That's because
Is that not a perennial though?
Yeah.
Well,
Calamogrosis
or not feather reed.
overdone.
Not feather reed. I'm talking about fountain grass.
Oh,
Not
fountain
feather
grass.
reed grass,
Oh,
but fountain
okay.
grass.
Fountain grass.
My weed grass came right through. It looks great.
I just got my lips fixed and my tongue won't work.
Okay.
Anyway, no fountain grass. The soft fountain grass.
Pennisetum,
Pennisetum will not take any frost, period, or even coldness. So I bring it in every night.
Yeah.
But so you just like that, Mike. I just said, watch the weather like a hawk, because you don't want to save stuff all winter, and then for one stupid move in the spring, you lose it because of the frost. So
Yeah, well, I started my geraniums back in the end of January, and right now I've got a pot full of geraniums with 7 big blossoms on them.
Oh, good for you.
And they're outside.
Exciting.
They're outside right now.
And they'll probably be all right. But really, I say probably. You want to really watch the weather.
Mm-hmm.
I think
Addie?
being on the deck and under a roof, I think they're
I think you're pretty good.
a bit of shelter.
But I'm not going to guarantee it, because then I'd be in the soup. Okay.
Thanks a lot,
Thank you,
guys. Have
Addie.
a great
Appreciate the call.
weekend.
Yeah,
You betcha.
thanks for calling.
You betcha.
Bye-bye.
And now we're going to go to Bill. Good morning, Bill.
Good morning.
Good morning.
How's it going today?
It is going absolutely wonderfully. And for yourselves?
Oh, beautiful. Yeah. Happy it's spring.
How can you not be happy at this time of year, Bill?
Oh, don't get me started. I could probably come up with a number of reasons, but you know what? It's springtime, and even though some of my garlic didn't survive February. Oh yeah, it was coming up like crazy in January, and then that cold February came along and knocked down. I can't remember. I've got 2 different varieties. I got a Russian, big large bulb Russian, and they did fine.
Yeah.
I can't remember what the other one was, and I think maybe 2 of them survived.
my.
Are you sure they are dead, or just the tops frozen down?
Well, we'll see. I mean, I don't know for sure. The tops are gone for sure.
I got a feeling it's going to be coming back for you.
Oh,
But anyway,
good. I'm glad you're so positive about
There
that.
you go.
Don.
Optimist.
Just a comment regarding the last call. If you pay attention to whatever the airport reading is, you pay. I mean, here in our neighborhood, we're 3 or 4 degrees higher than whatever, pretty consistently 3 or 4 degrees higher than whatever the airport says.
Right.
And you pay attention to your own microclimate in your own neighborhood, and you can you can get a better idea as to when you can put things out.
Gonna watch it. Now, Bill, are you now when you see on the Weather Channel and Castanet and all these different places you go to now and even in the Daily Courier, when I look at the weather forecast at the top of the funny pages, now are they talking airport?
I'm assuming I listen to the national broadcaster in the morning, and they give the weather, the temperatures from the airport, and so I mean I've got my wall thermometer here that's got the sender out on the north side of the house. So it's pretty, that's pretty accurate for me locally. And like I said, I mean, I'm consistently in the winter time. I'm 3 to 5 degrees warmer than the airport, and that's really consistent.
Okay.
So I mean, like I say, I mean, every little neighborhood. I mean, you live up in southeast Kelowna. That's a totally different environment than that's down here, close to the lake.
Exactly.
And like I say, I mean, every little neighborhood, like you say, you have frost pockets and everything else. And but if you pay attention to those things over the course of time, you'll be able to go, well, on average, we're X above or below whatever the airport temperature is.
That's helpful. Yeah.
Yeah. My question, it's a double-sided question or whatever. I want to start my vegetables and stuff in the house,
Right.
And so when's this, like tomatoes, cucumbers, the whole nut, peppers, the whole nine yards.
Now's the time. Our buddy Don Stoltz has his window full of tomatoes and peppers, and they look great.
So the other question to go along with that is how much supplemental light should I be, should I put my lights on? Because everything's in a south window. It's on the west side of the house. So once...
The more the merrier.
The more the merrier. But, I look at Donnie's little situation there. It's a west side window.
Yeah.
And he's got this gorgeous crop
He's getting
of
about
peppers.
probably 20% of the actual real sunlight.
Yeah. And yet his peppers look great.
Yeah.
And so...
Setting them outside from time to time, just a little at a time, is a good idea, because they have to get used to the sunlight. The key is not doing it for extensive periods at first, right?
Yeah, because I've got
introducing them.
Yeah, my windows are south facing, but I've got a porch splitting. So it's on the west side of the house, but it's a south facing window. So come noonish, that window will be getting direct sunlight from noon till the end of the day, sort of thing.
So keep in mind that most of that light is reflected away, so you're getting anywhere around 15% to 20% of the actual sunlight coming through the window.
So, in other words, a fluorescent fixture above your plants and keep it as close to the plants as you possibly can would be helpful.
A couple of incandescent grow lights.
Would be helpful.
It's just nothing can beat the real sun, because it's going out there sooner or later.
Okay, buddy, we're going to have to break.
So, I will get those started this weekend.
Thank you, Bill. We appreciate your call. Take care.
Okay, talk to you later.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
And on that note, we're going to take that short break. We've got... Henry online waiting for us, and we will be back. 250-862-2525. We'll be back with more AM 1150 Garden. We are back with you, and on the line, waiting for us, we have... who do we have, Grinder? Hey, we got Henry. Henry, I forgot about you, Henry. Good morning.
Oh, yeah. I was listening to all your commercials there.
Yeah. Well, good.
That's it's great. Well, I have all these scratch marks in the lawn, and I've been told it's probably raccoons.
Mm-hmm. Could be, yeah.
And so my question is, do you know how to get rid of these raccoons?
Well, the only thing, it's very difficult to get rid of them, but they don't like the sound of humans. So sometimes I've heard that people put a very small transistor radio out, and they kind of just put it underneath their deck or something, just outside somewhere, and they put it on low volume, and they just leave it on 24 hours a day. Or it's mostly at night, but you don't want to be turning it on and off. Yeah. Just put some good batteries in it and let it go. And it's just that constant change, and people talking and things going on and a little bit of music playing, and it's just stuff happening. It's supposed to make them a little bit nervous, but I really, they're getting so brazen and so brave, and there's not too much you can do.
I've never seen them, so they must be...
Remember what they're doing is they're eating worms and grubs in the lawn. So that's what
somebody told me,
Yeah. They love those leather jacket larvae. That's their favorite. So they're kind of beneficial in a way, because you don't have to spray for your bugs. They just go and eat them. But it does cause a bit of a mess.
I think there was a few last year, but I was out on the lawn a couple of days ago, and there's a number of them.
That's all the babies coming out or something. But the raccoons can be a pain for sure, and there really isn't too much you can do. But make sure that your lawn dries out between waterings, and that's one other thing that deters insects like the leather jackets and even some chinch bugs and things that birds and the raccoons like to eat them. So if you deter them by always allowing your lawn to go a little bit dry between each watering, and then give it a good soak again, and then let it go dry. And that's, those insects don't like those conditions that are variable, and they don't like it when it gets dry.
Oh, yeah.
And if you train your grass, if you train your lawn doesn't mind that, getting on the dry side.
Oh, yeah, yeah. My lawns, when I had rented houses over the years, I never ever watered my lawn. I could water it maybe twice a year. But the key is the lawn learned. I had to teach it that I was not going to water it, because grasses are prairie plants, and on the prairies it doesn't rain all the time. Yeah. They're used to it.
It's going to be quite a chore.
Well, and in the summer, when you see your lawns around and you see a little bit of brownness and summer look to the lawn, you kind of go, "Hey, that person's behaving."
Yeah,
because that's what lawns do. Then they automatically just green up in September, and they're green first thing in the spring.
Yep.
So they
do. Yeah.
Yep.
So
I've got a very small patch of
maybe there's some kind of granular stuff I could spread on the lawn. I've noticed for the deers I had to buy a deer repellent.
Yeah. Well, there is a product called it's called
Grub Out.
No, not well. There's that, but there's that gets rid of the grubs, so maybe the raccoons won't attract. But there was a thing. It was in a little can of jar. It was a pest. It was called Scamp or Scamp Out or something. Just kind of. It was a mixture of herbs and stuff that you'd use to keep cats and things out of your beds, and it seemed to work.
Well, I know. Yeah, I had to buy that cat.
Yep.
Stuff. It was kind of like a little jelly thing.
Yeah,
I remember that was for cats, and I don't see no cats coming around here anymore. But nevertheless, okay. I will.
Henry, appreciate the call.
Thank you.
Okay, sir.
Yep.
Bye-bye.
Thanks for calling.
Yeah, there was. What was it called? It was oh heavens, I forget. It was so long ago since I sold this stuff. But you'd smell it, and it actually smelled like something you might want to put on your salad. You know, it was a mixture of herby smell.
Yeah, I imagine animals like raccoons don't particularly go for herbs.
No,
they're meat eaters predominantly. I think they'll eat just about anything. They eat berries, fruits, and
the nice thing
animals.
is they wash it first.
Yeah, they're very tidy.
250-862-2525 to get through to us today on the AM 1150 Garden Show. I talked about my Hippistrum or my amaryllis. We learned from Dan Bruce they're not an amaryllis, they're a Hippistrum.
Right.
But that's okay. It's kind of fun to learn that stuff. And it's like when we learned how to say Weigela. All my life I've called them Wigelias because that's what my dad called them. Yep. But there's no IA. It's at the end, it's just LA. And as you have pointed out, that most of your botanical names, you use the hard form, not J, but G, right?
Yes, yeah. Most
so
of them.
Weigela.
Like Chamaecyparis.
Chamaecyparis, yeah.
Chamaecyparis, I think the C is soft.
Is it? Chamaecyparis?
Yeah.
Okay.
It's weird. CHs are pronounced like Ks.
Yeah.
And Cs are pronounced like
soft.
S's.
Soft.
I think soft. I'm not sure, but
then
you have to research it.
Really, who cares as long as you're...
as long as somebody knows what you're talking about,
that's right.
You've successfly done your job.
Exactly. You can get
it's Wigelia or whatever, that's fine. If somebody knows it, that's great.
Yeah. So we're working it out where, like, next week I'll be here with Ken, and I are going to be together again next week. But the week after, I'm going to be phoning in or contacting from Amsterdam.
Mm-hmm.
And we're going to be surrounded by tulips. And we're on a boat, and it's going to be fun. We're going to be really enjoying that trip. It's an 11-day cruise up the Amazon. I was going to say no. It's up the river.
It's not up
the river in Amsterdam and up through into Belgium.
Mm-hmm.
And here's the goal, Ken. And I may even bring one or two home for you.
Uh-oh.
And that is, where do they grow in the world the best begonia?
Oh.
Belgium. Begonias. And we don't see them on the shelves anymore.
No, and we don't get the variety that we used to.
No,
that's for sure.
Exactly.
There's still some available.
So we're going right to Mecca, the Belgium begonia Mecca. And I'm going to make sure that I bring home a suitcase full of Belgian begonias.
Might cost you a fortune, but it'd be good.
Well, I'm off chocolate, so we're not doing the Belgium chocolate.
That's true. Yeah.
Well, a little bit maybe. But the begonias is what I'm going to bring home. Now, Grinder, do we go to the phone lines quickly? It's up to us. Well, let's go to the phone line. Bobby, we don't want to keep you waiting. Good morning, Bobby.
Good morning.
Good morning.
I talked to you last week, and I got a Morden rose.
Oh, good.
Actually, I bought 3 of them.
Good for you.
Nice.
And when can I put them in the ground?
Right away.
Right away.
You bet.
Wonderful.
Put them in the ground. Yep.
Okay. They're coming along nicely out on my patio, and
no, they'd be fine. They will be fine.
Wonderful.
and better in the ground. You don't want them. You don't want them. Anywhere where they're going to have soft new growth. The growth that comes on them now will be, as long as they've been outside, that growth will be quite frost hardy, unless we had some crazy weather, which I don't normally expect we will. But if we had crazy weather, it's still not going to kill that rose. It might burn some foliage, but it won't kill the rose. The new
survived
foliage.
Morden.
Yeah.
So it must be
Morden, Manitoba, it survives there. So, yeah. Okay.
Right. All right. Thank you.
Thank you, Bobby. Appreciate the call. Take care.
Yeah.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
And on that note, we'll take another short break, 250-862-2525 to get through to us today. We've got lots more to talk about on the radio, and I'm sure you have some questions. So give us a call. We'll be back with more AM 1150 Garden Show. We are, and we have Allie with us representing the OXA, the Okanagan Landscape Association, as well as her business, Gardens by Allie, and a master gardener. This is great. It's always good to have master gardeners on the show. Ken and I learn a lot from all gardeners. And you don't have to be a master gardener to pass on information that your mom or your uncle or anybody talked to you about in gardening. But one thing we do like to talk about every week, every Saturday on the Garden Show is how long the days are getting. They're getting longer and longer and longer, and they're going to be, the longest day on June 21st is 16 hours and 21 minutes. Well, we're already at 13 hours and 13 minutes long. And so we're 5 hours and 6 minutes longer than the shortest day on December 21st, which was only 8 hours and 5 minutes long. So there we go. That's the update on how long the day is. I don't know if anybody's interested. I know Rondo Brown gave me a call, and he was so excited about the fact that we mentioned that every week. He wanted the whole, where did I get that? Well, it's off the internet, of course. And so I printed it all out for him so he can follow that as well on the printout. And it's interesting how that happens. The interesting thing, too, is the further south you get, like in Mexico,
the less the effect.
There's not much effect. The days are kind of the same.
Yeah, they vary a little bit.
Very little difference.
Yeah.
And yet you go up to Yukon or Tuktoyaktuk, and you got
extremes.
1 hour of daylight and 23 hours of darkness, or you got 23 hours of daylight and 1 hour of darkness.
Yeah,
I mean, that's why they say you plant cucumbers up there. If you plant cucumbers up in the Yukon, you can't grow cucumbers. The days are so long, they grow so fast that the cucumbers drag along the ground, and they wear themselves down. You only get half a cucumber.
Yep. Grow too fast.
They grow too fast. Yeah. Yeah. No. And my wife Donna, my dear Donna, she called me. And she says, she said, "I'm so excited that spring is here. I almost wet my plants." That's what she told me. Okay. Well, actually, we've been out wetting the plants lately. Actually, getting the hose out and giving. I've got radishes in coming up, and they've germinated both in the greenhouse and in the garden. The radishes are coming up. I've got carrots coming up in the greenhouse, but no, they haven't germinated yet out in the garden. Beans are going to go in after we get back from Holland. We won't put them in until we get back from Holland.
No point. Yep.
The beans. Peas are in. They haven't come up. I put peas in January and didn't work. I wondered how that was going to work because it was so mild in January. I thought, let's put the peas in. Well, then 25 below comes, and but other things that we've got going on in the garden. I've got garlic planted, and I've got some garlic coming through from last year.
Yeah, my garlic's up 3 inches or so.
Oh, from last year's planting?
Yep.
Yeah.
And I missed some that I forgot to harvest is now shooting up multiple stems, and that's they don't really, they're still good. They're great, but it's just you don't get that head of garlic like you would normally if you just put in the single, the single bit,
Well, we've got the phone lines are open, and we've got Maureen on the line. Good morning, Maureen.
Hi there. I actually have a couple of questions, and I just want to say how much I love the show, and also that I absolutely love the H2 garden down there, and I'm always looking at it.
Nice.
We have a property quite large, but I'm wanting to start a new kind of just a nice garden, maybe with some grasses. But the problem is, it's mostly in the shade, and it's on a hillside, and it's just like a bunch of like bush kind of growing there. It's quite hard packed soil. So my question was, how do I begin? Do I dig it down, add a bunch of soil to it, add some of the Ogo Grow, and then top it with Glen Grow? Like, I'm confused between the two of those.
Okay.
And yeah.
Well, I can explain that part, but I'm going to get Ali to suggest some other plants and things like that.
Thank you.
The Ogo Grow and Glen Grow are both produced by the city of Kelowna out at the, my dad used to call it the nuisance ground, but it's the dump, right?
Landfill,
it's the dump, the landfill. That's a better word, landfill. And it's been a great program, started in the early 80s, and it began because, of course, we were taking, the Ogo Grow program began because we were taking the sewage sludge from the sewer department, the whatever they call it, where all our sewage goes. And we were taking that sludge and we were just throwing it in a dump. And they were just saying, well, how can this be sustainable? So a couple of gentlemen that were working with the city and in conjunction with people like Dr. Hoytink, a worldwide macrobiologist, they got together and they said, okay, why don't we start experimenting and using the sludge in conjunction with some composted, as a small portion, a component of the composted mulch that we have from all our trees and that, and they created that Ogo Grow program. And then the Glen Grow came about because lots of people would rather not buy something that has sewage sludge in it. I have no problem with it. I use it all the time.
I have used it, and I just cannot believe how great it is in my front yard.
That's right.
Every single year I get a little load of it. But I just but you wouldn't use that for vegetables, right?
Well, that's what a lot of people steer away from it, from vegetables. They use it on their ornamentals, and they use it as a mulch and whatnot, and they just don't use it on the vegetables, and that's fair. But the program is great. But the Glen Grow is a great product. It just doesn't have the punch that the Ogo Grow has. It doesn't have the nutrient levels that the Ogo Grow has. However,
would you use both? Would you dig your Ogo Grow in with some brand new, like, it's very clay-like soil right now. Right. There's really not much in there. Would you dig a bunch of Ogo Grow and then, as a mulch, use your Glen Grow on top?
Sure, you could either way, or either way. But here's the deal: if you've got clay soils, you may want to also incorporate some gypsum into that, because gypsum is a very good product for amending clay soils. And now, as far as some of the choices, Ali, as far as some of those choices for shade, what kind of grasses would grow in a shadier spot?
I would suggest to Maureen that she heads to our website, the Okanagan Xeriscape Plant Database, just because you can get really specific plants for your needs. But roughly, just looking at it quickly, there's a few, and what it will show as well on the website is, in some cases, it will tell you where to get them, and it has the full name on it. So when you're asking nurseries, you're going to get the right information. But there's and it depends on is the area under irrigation at all, or is it just shade?
And we can change the irrigation a little bit. Right now, there's not much going up there, but we've got this big pipe. We can change it and dig it in and add it. But so it's just sort of sporadic.
Right. Well, I think that's we would always encourage you to try to do it without irrigation if you can do it, and go with Mother Nature. But if it's there already, then you can look at some of the sedges, calyxes, and there's one that's really pretty, but it's the Japanese variegated sedge. And it's very pretty, but some of those do want a little bit more water, so they would be more of a multi-drop one. Blue wargrass. There's quite a lot of things there. And one for a lower growth. I don't know whether you want anything else in, but this is a really good.
Something for height and something for low, but I want it to be low maintenance, where I just put it in, have it grow beautifully, put some Glen Grow on top so it doesn't need a lot of water, and have it low maintenance, but still beautiful looking.
Sure, and there's something that comes to mind that is really happy and will spread quite well, that likes the shade is orange arnica. We'll have that at the plant sale on May 4th, and it's a low-growing, it's a pretty yellow flower, and it will spread. It has runners, and it will spread. And if there's any kind of soil erosion issue, it's not a deep root thing, but it will hold your soil and your Glen Grow in place a little bit.
And what is the name of that one again?
That's orange arnica.
Okay.
And on the OXA website, probably about a week before May 4th, we'll have a list of all the plants that we'll be having at the sale, because it varies every year depending on how the garden's doing.
I'm heartbroken that I'm not going to be here for your sale this year.
Oh, yikes!
I have gone the last couple of years, but and there's probably no pre-sales or anything.
Well, I'm not sure that my email address is on the website, but certainly it's in our newsletter.
Okay.
But it's just ali@okanaganxeriscape.org. So if you wanted to send me an email, we can see if we can help you out with that.
Well, thank you so much today, everyone.
Sure.
Thank you.
You betcha. Thank you for the call.
All right.
Appreciate your
Thanks
participation.
for calling.
Thanks.
Yep.
Thanks.
Bye-bye.
And we are going to the phone lines again? And Bill, good morning, Bill.
Morning, gentlemen.
Good.
How are you today?
Good,
well,
thanks.
I have a question on, I've built some garden boxes, 4x4, 12-inch walls. I'm curious what kind of soil I can put in there. Can I put Comix, like the big bag that you see at Rona, or should I get the stuff from the landfill?
No, how big are these? These are raised beds, Bill?
Well, they're going to sit flush to the garden surface, but I just don't want to have to water the whole garden. I want to isolate my water to these boxes and control the weeds and that kind of thing.
You know, that mix that Byland's put together called Byland's Garden Soil.
Okay.
You know, they sell it in bulk.
Yeah.
It's called,
veggie
mix.
Pickup? Can they load the back of the pickup, or does it come bagged?
No, you can load the back of your pickup.
Okay.
By the scoop. And it's
nice because it's
reasonable.
got sand in it. It's got some little bit of topsoil, and it has a beautiful blend. It has some of the black diamond peat in it. And
okay, so I don't have to amend it with anything aside from...
I've grown right into it, and it's just great.
Okay.
Yep.
Okay, and that's called the
Byland's Garden Soil.
Or veggie mix.
Or veggie mix, something like that.
Veggie mix, I think, yeah.
Okay, great. That's what I'll if I've got 4 of these boxes and they're 12 inches tall, what kind of volume of soil would I think I'd need?
You can do...
Well, what's the dimensions? It's 12 inches high. What's the dimensions?
4x4.
4x4 by 12?
Yeah.
Well, you've got 16 cubic feet there in each one of them.
So that's times 4. Okay.
Okay. 16 cubic feet. There's 27 cubic feet in a cubic yard.
Okay.
So you probably need a couple of yards.
Couple of yards. Will that fit in the back of a truck, or is that a two-tripper?
Regular pickup, no, but a long box you might. You might want to pick up one yard at a time.
Okay.
Okay.
Yeah. Well, we'll do it manageable. Thank you very much, gentlemen.
You betcha.
Yep. Good luck.
Bye-bye.
Thank you.
250-862-2525 to get through to us. We might have a little bit of time left after we do these messages, but we are going to break, and we'll be back with more AM 1150 Garden Show. That's right, and Allie. And Allie, it's been such a pleasure having you with us. It's been a great time having you here and representing OXA and the goings-on there. And maybe you just want to mention again what's going on coming up with the plant sale?
Sure. Saturday, May 4th from 9 to 12 in the UnH2O demonstration garden at the H2O Aquatic Center on Gordon Drive. We'll have our plant list on our website probably the week before so people can pre-shop. We'll have plenty of volunteers there to help people shop, spend more, buy our plants. All tried and tested, as Pam, who called in earlier, we've got great success with the plants that we have. At the moment, we have 2,649. We always encourage people. I'm really proud of our website. It's a great website. We'd love people to look at the website, join, be a member, and join our volunteer crew, great crew of people who help work in the garden, help at the plant sale. We're all learning. I learn lots from our volunteers and sort of lots of shared knowledge there. And our fantastic plant database is on there, and we keep it updated as with our Facebook page with what's going on. Mm-hmm. And we've got a few things coming. There's a class for the 7 principles of xeriscape coming up soon. I think it's the 13th of April.
Now, if you want to get to the website, and I just realized this, and you've explained this, Allie, just Google OXA.
Correct.
OXA, and it'll come up like
That's
a
right.
bingo. She comes up. Otherwise, you're having to spell xeriscape.
You know what else is on? There's another thing on today, I believe, and I'll just check the date really quick. But it's the 6th today?
Yes.
Then it's the CD Saturday in
in Peachland. That's right.
today.
And they've got lots of other things going on
Peachland
with
CD Saturday.
Peachland CD Saturday
Yeah,
as
that's
well.
happening today.
Great.
So
Yes.
there you go. More gardening stuff than you can shake a stick at.
Yeah, and and take your grandchildren out in the garden. And, I just really emphasize how important it is to get your kids out in the garden so they know where a carrot comes from and they know where a beet comes from and what's going on when they got something on their platter, on their table. And they won't be so afraid of it either. They may even like Brussels sprouts if you...
Well, you're pushing that a little.
Yeah, chard. No, what's the one that the kale is? What I love kale.
Yeah,
why has kale got such a negative connotation to it? And then there's kale.
Oh yeah, it's so
Kale
good
is
for you.
Delicious.
It's wonderful. Yeah,
Got a nice taste to it. It's good. Puts hair in your chest is what it does.
Oh yeah, well, you can put it in soup too. And then you're getting all the vitamins.
I'm learning how to cook. We got a gas stove coming in. We're in.
Whoa!
I said to Donna, I
big
said
time.
we're looking at all these cooking shows, and what are they using? Gas stoves, not
yeah.
electric. So we're getting a gas stove this week. Next
That's
week.
the way to go.
Yeah, and then we'll light the world on fire. We'll be cooking with.
We hope not.
We'll be yeah, right.
Yeah.
We'll be cooking with gas.
Yeah.
So we're getting close to the end of the show, Ken. Just as I mentioned, I'll be here next week, but for 2 Saturdays I'll be incognito.
You'll be phoning in.
I'm going to be phoning in from Amsterdam, and the second week I'll be phoning in from another city, and I'll tell you where that's from when we get there.
Yeah, there you go.
It'll be 4:00 in the afternoon our time down there, so I might be into the beer already.
Yeah, so maybe you won't be able to call in.
Phone in. I'll call in. I'll be
anyway.
just giddy and
Giggly?
Giggly, yeah.
There you go.
We'll have some fun. We're really looking forward to it, Don and I, and we got 10 great people traveling with us. So we just all got together the other night for a little meeting, and we're all anxious to get going and having some fun. We're going to have some fun. So,
well, I wonder if the tulips are a little bit behind schedule there as well. Like here,
I don't know. I think
I was down at the coast last weekend. There was no.
I know. Well, my early ones are just coming up. My little
tulips are just pushing. Yeah.
My little species tulips are just coming up now.
Yep.
But no, I think Holland does it right, and I think they're going to be in full bloom. 18th of April.
Should be good.
They should be right on the nose. It's the Tulip River Cruise, and it's going to be fun.
Well, that sounds great.
Yeah, so here we go. We better give the tips and plants of the week and get out of here.
You betcha.
Watch the weather like a hawk. If you're putting tender plants outside overnight, watch the weather like a hawk and bring them in if you figure it's going to freeze. My plants of the week are the beautiful double apple blossom geranium.
Yeah.
And the hipistrum, the amaryllis.
Yeah, thanks
hipistrum.
Again for that geranium, Don. I'm going to get that out in the garden ASAP.
Yep.
All right, I also have a tip and a plant this week. My tip of the week is that don't be in a rush to discard a plant that hasn't leafed out. We've got a long ways to go for some of the summer blooming plants. I mentioned the hibiscus syriacus, or the rose of Sharon, which is a late blooming plant, and it often doesn't leaf out until into May anyway, and this year it's even later, so you never know. But just scratch the bark. Make sure if it's nice and green inside and a little bit of moisture in there, then it's fine. It's just going to take its time to leaf out, so don't be in a rush to check it out. Now, my plant of the week is a Primula auricula. It's a whole family of Primula, and it's just a really fun plant. You can collect them, and they're just not as common as they used to be in the garden centers. But whenever I see one, I try to get one of every color, and there must be about 50 colors, if not hundreds of colors.
Smooth leaf, too.
Smooth leaf, and a little bit of dust on them, and they're highly prized for their dusty look. But that's my tip and plant for this week. Remember to check KelownaGardens.com and GrowerCoach.com and scope it out a bit. Check out some of the tabs.
Okay, my Shigo quote of the week: the most beautiful flowers often grow in rocky soils and crevices. And Allie, thank you for being here today. We appreciate it.
My pleasure. Thanks for having me.
We'll do it again. And we'll see you all next week with more AM 1150 Garden Show.